So the problem here is I can see this link, you can also see this link, anyone to which I share this code can also see this link. So this is a very less secure method. Okay, so instead of this, by the way, you must never share these kind of keys which you get from resources, or else if I share this to you, you can also use this API. So what's the purpose? So always hide these keys into an env file. Okay, so this is recommended. You don't write keys inside db.js or anywhere, you write all your keys inside env file. Okay, env file is known as environment variable. Okay, environment variable file. It actually contains your environment variables. For example, my first environment variable which I'm going to name here is, suppose, Mongo URL. Okay, so I'll just name it as Mongo URL, and it's containing what? It's containing your URL. Okay, so actually it would be called here, and what you would do is, once your Mongo URL is here, you would be just calling this variable. Okay, this variable would be called here, so you would be just calling Mongo URL. That's it. Actually, instead of this, you actually write process.env. Okay, so process.env.mongo underscore URL. Okay, it's actually like this. So you'd be calling it wherever you call it, you would get the value. Okay, so that's how I actually call this. You can see right now, I cannot see my key. I have to visit this file. I won't be sharing this file to anyone. That's it. Okay, that's easy, right? And it makes things very secure. Okay, so when you want to share the code, you never share the env file. You share all the file. You can share any file you want except the env file. Okay, because env would be containing all your important keys in future also. It's very important to know. Okay, never skip this part. Always keep your keys safe in your env and then use it everywhere you want. Okay, so now we have just passed our keys. Now guys, we have to set up our database. So for setting up the database, we have very few lines of code. So first of all, you need mongoose. Okay, so I would simply type npm I mongoose at the bottom. Okay, so npm I mongoose. Once you write this, you simply need to import mongoose. So mongoose require mongoose. Okay, so once you install this, it would be installed and it would be available in your package.json. Whatever you install would be actually available in your package.json. One more thing which you would need is express. Okay, so express, you'll be needing this. Okay, and some more packages would be needed, we'll see that. But right now, first thing is mongoose. Actually, one more thing is, since you're using .env and you want to use this .env variable, so how are you going to identify this file? So for that, we have a package named as .env. Okay, so I would simply type npm I .env. Just install this. Now once you install this, you would simply write require .env config. Okay, if you write it this way, now I am going to able to connect with this file. Okay, this is the file, env file. Okay, .env file. Now I am going to identify variables from this file and use it here. Okay, once you write it this way. Okay, so you wrote this. Now you want to connect to database, so you can simply say mongoose.connect. Okay, now inside this, I would simply first of all pass my key. Okay, that is my database key which I got. So from env file, I have to look for what? I have to look for MongoDB underscore URL. Okay, I think this was it. Yeah, Mongo URL. It's actually Mongo URL. Whatever name you gave there, you have to write it here. Mongo URL. We have called the Mongo URL, right? Now I would simply say, suppose my database which I want to keep is also a variable. Okay, so I'll just say I have a variable here named as db name. So I'll just say db name equals to do DB. Okay, I have just named my database like this. Automatically a database in MongoDB would be created with this name. Okay, and this variable has been called here. Okay, that's it. Now after this by the way, this is optional. Actually, you don't need to pass DB name. Okay, if you leave it empty, I think a random name would be given in MongoDB. If you give a name, proper name here, so that name would be taken. Okay, so now once it's connected, so we have to check. Okay, so for that we have then catch. Okay, so if you have watched my JavaScript tutorial, you know what is then catch. It's for asynchronous part, so it might take some time to connect. Till then what you have to do, you have to wait. After that you have to do something. Okay, so this actually makes things synchronous. That means only after this, next task would be what? To actually tell the user that your database has been connected. Okay, so I would simply say then MongoDB connected. Else you can just say whatever is your error message, you can just show your error message. Okay, so I hope you understood how to just start the connection. So after this guys, automatically we just need to import this file. Okay, we just need to import this file into what? Into our index.js. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So we'll come back here into index.js, and here first of all we need to import our Express. Okay, I hope everyone knows the previous video, have watched the previous video on Express basics, so you can watch that. Now I would just create an instance, and one more thing which you would need is body parser. Okay, so you'll be needing body parser. I would write it here, and you would also need course, and I would define my port as 8000, okay. And also you want to use .env, so you would be simply copying this for line and paste it here. You would be using .env here also sometimes in future, so I would just write it here. Now you have created an instance. Now you want to use the db file, so you can simply write require and /db, because this is in the same file. You can see db is in the same file, so you just write ./db. Automatically db.js would be targeted, or else you can write properly db.js, that's also fine. You can write the proper name or you can leave it empty. It would be always targeting the JavaScript files, right? So you are targeting all the files. Now one more important thing is later on you would be using some things like bcrypt, jwt, different kind of things. Later on we'll be understanding that, but right now these are the basic things which you would need here. Now you would again say that when your application starts, I want to use body parser and course. Okay, we have covered this in last video, you can check that. So what is body parser? Whenever you send or receive some kind of data, it converts it into JSON format and identifies the things and whatever you want to do with that. So it's always useful. And what does app.use do? It actually acts as a middleware. That means whatever API you call, first of all this would be called, after that some other API would be called. Okay, that means for example you have an API to create a to do, so first this would be called, then you would be creating a to do. If you have an API for delete a to do, first of all this API would be called, then delete to do would be called. Okay, so app.use simply makes it mandatory. Okay, make this a mandatory to call before anything. That's it. So now we have this. Now one more thing, that is we are going to have to do route. So I'm just going to say we are going to first of all write to do routes, then we are going to import that. So I'm just going to write here import and use import routes here. Okay, you will be importing your routes here. So first of all I want to check that if it's working properly or not, so I would simply say app.listening on this port 8000. Okay, and you can just say server is running on this port. Okay, now I would just simply create an API app.get. Okay, and I would just say when someone calls this, I would simply say okay, this is the JSON format, and I would always send the data in JSON format because I want to get data in JSON format. Okay, that means in front end you would be getting data in JSON format. Okay, API working, that's it. So now let's try to check this. First of all, we have connected our database with this, that means automatically this file would run and it would give me whatever is the thing here. And one more thing, we have just listened on port 8000. Okay, so now let's try to run this. How to run this? You can simply type nodemon, because we have installed nodemon globally. You can watch my previous videos of installation. So we would simply type nodemon and automatically it would be targeting index.js. So you can see that our application actually crashed. Why? Because we don't have some modules. Okay, so we have to actually install some modules. We actually wrote this. Okay, so npm I course. If you want to write multiple modules, you can actually write it this way. Okay, so app dot, okay, that's it. So if I hit enter, now I think the error would be gone after these installations. Okay, so now if I check, okay, you can see server is running on port 8000, and what else? So let's wait for database. So you can see MongoDB is also connected. That means now you are allowed to create, read, update, delete into your database since you saw this. So your database is also working and your backend is also working. We don't have any issues. Okay, so first let's close this, and we are going to write some operations into to do routes, then we are allowed to use them. Okay, so let's go to do routes. And here again guys, I hope you know that what we did in previous video was we created again an instance of Express that is named as router. Okay, and what else? Again, if you are using .env somewhere in this page, so I would be just writing it here, .env config. Okay, and what else? You'd be also importing the to do schema. Okay, to do schema. Okay, so I'll just write it properly, to do schema. You'll be importing this. Okay, so we'll understand that also. So we would be using some schema for to do. Okay, so right now I'll just comment this out. Later on I'll be creating a file inside models and understand that, and actually it's capital M. Okay, now guys, first of all I would just say module dot exports router. You have to export router, And suppose I want to test this, so I would just say router dot get, and someone is trying to check this, so I would simply say suppose this is the test API working for to do routes. Okay, to do routes, that's it. Okay, so now let's test this API. So for that we can actually use Postman. Okay, so I'll just go to Postman